Hi, I'm Stephen David Horwich, and I want to talk to you about my second book, all about education and homeschooling. My first book is called Poor Cheated Little Johnny, and Poor Cheated Little Johnny deals with all of the problems that we're having with education today and how you can flip them and turn them into valuable tools to homeschool successfully. It's a terrific book and very valuable to homeschoolers. We've had lots of people read it, and it really changed the way they were educating their children in wonderful ways. But I've written a new book, which is a bigger, better book, more interesting book, that takes off where poor little cheated Johnny ends, and moves on from there. The new book is called Not Alternative Education, Universal Private Education. Now, by not alternative education, what I'm saying is that for decades now, educators have tried to convince us that homeschooling is an alternative form of education. It isn't. Homeschooling for thousands of years has been the principal form of education all over the world. And most of the great people you find in the history books, writers, inventors, scientists, religious leaders, you name it, they were homeschooled. They may have continued their education in college, but most of their principal education came at home. And this has been true for thousands of years, and is true today in America for anywhere up to 6.5 million students, depending on what polls you read and what information you're following. So what we're saying in our book, this new book, is that homeschooling is not alternative education, and what's more, private forms of education, of which there are many and which are described very thoroughly in this book, not just homeschooling, are all viable and necessary forms of education, and in fact can completely replace all forms of public education. The book is broken into 4 different parts. Each part serves a different purpose. You can use this like a handbook if you like. Use the parts that are of value to you, skip them if they're not, and move into the other parts. Part 1 deals with our public schools today and is a litany, and a very depressing litany in some ways, though I've tried to express it in amusing ways, of abuses and failures on the part of public education. All of this section of the book is based on actual reports and stories that have been covered extensively in the news over most of 2011 and early 2012. I think you're going to find a lot of the stories stunning and appalling, and if you really are a fan of public schooling, you really need to read this section of the book. It's going to make you rethink your position. If you are not a fan of public schooling, you're going to find wonderful arguments against it in this section of the book. Lots of facts, lots of figures, lots of true stories, things that will really open your eyes. Part 2 of this new book covers a very comprehensive 6-year plan on how we can safely, smartly close our public school districts and all of our public schools. There are approximately 100,000 public schools in the United States, and they cost us over $550 billion every school year to keep them open and running. These support some 3.2 million teachers who are giving us back, as a rule, terrible results for our money, for our investment. It is not a good investment, and the kids who are going through the schools are not doing as well as homeschoolers in college or in life. There are lots of statistics to support this, but people who educate privately score better on all of the testing, the standardized tests that the government likes to give. They do better in college, as you'll see if you go look at some of our webinars, especially the one on going to college, where a college dean explains that homeschoolers and private schoolers do 10 to 15% better in college than people coming out of our public schools. Public school does not work, and our second section of this book explains exactly how we can very carefully move off of public schooling and move into many forms of private education, not just homeschooling. Part 3 discusses all those different variations of private schooling in detail, and how they could be made to replace public schooling, how they could embrace the 77 million students in the United States currently, how they could really, truly support an educational process for those students and get consistently better results than we're getting right now for the ridiculous investment that we're making. You'll like that section, not only if you're interested in closing schools, but even if you're interested in looking at much better ways to educate your particular children. And if homeschooling makes you nervous, this is a good section for you to look at, because it's going to show you other forms of private education that you could utilize. Also in that section, by the way, we do talk about how we could integrate good teachers, of which there are some in the public school districts, into private educational formats, how we can employ them, how we can use them to offset some of the unemployment that would occur when we unemploy teachers in the public schools, and use the best of them to really educate our children in private forms of education. The final section of this book consists of two massive courses for you and for your children. The first course has to deal with the tools and the methods that you need as a homeschool teacher, you, mom or dad, in order to really succeed like crazy with your kid at home. And this course is for you to do at home. You don't need any materials outside of the course itself. You just need the time to do it. You need to be able to read English. If you go through the course step by step, you're going to learn all kinds of interesting tools and methods that you can apply to get better results and excellent results as a homeschooling teacher. The second course is also for you, and it explains how you can successfully form homeschool groups. This is a very important concept in private education. I personally believe that homeschooling a child in the one-to-one model, parent and student, with no one else in the room, is the hardest way to homeschool. Now, lots of us do it and did it. I did it for a while. Lots of parents do that successfully, and they're to be commended. It is a rough way to go. It is easier, actually, to work with 3 or 4 other families, to spread the responsibilities around as to who will handle the children on a given day, and to look at all of the parents involved in 3 to 4 families to mine their different areas of expertise and allow them to teach children what they know. It makes the homeschool experience much richer for the children and much easier on each individual parent and family. And I recommend it very strongly. So I provided you a thorough course on how to legally build a homeschool group, how to develop it sanely, how to schedule it, how to use homeschool groups to enhance your child's education. And I think you'll find that part of the book very valuable. So this book is for you, homeschool mom and dad. It's for you to use as a hand guide, to improve your results, and to explain to others why you homeschool or why you privately educate your children. And I hope that you'll take a good look at the book, at the free sample that you'll find on this particular site, and pick up the book and read it and make full use of it. Thank you for your time.